On a Tuesday afternoon in October 2022, my neighbor sent me a link with 7 words, "Isn't this your daughter?" I was rinsing a coffee mug at the time. The house was quiet. Just the fridge humming and a neighbor's leaf blower 3 houses down. I dried my hands on the dish towel I've had since my son was in middle school, sat at the kitchen table I bought in 1998, and pressed play. There I was on the screen. My bathrobe. My slippers. The way I hum when I water the plants on the porch. Cut together with big white captions calling me the crazy old lady, the video had millions of views. My daughter's voice laughed over my movements like I was a character in a sitcom, not a person with a mortgage and a job and a name. I didn't call her. I made a fresh pot of coffee, sat back down, and watched every second of that video twice. Then I watched another. And another. By the time the sun set, I understood something clearly. My daughter had made me famous by mocking me. 50 million strangers knew my kitchen better than she did. But what she didn't know was that I've spent 40 years learning how systems work. How money moves. How leverage is built in silence. She made me content. I was about to make myself a person again. Let me tell you how I got there. Elaine Morrison was 54 years old when she discovered that her face had been broadcast to the world without her knowledge. She worked as a receptionist at a family clinic on the north side of Houston, a job she had held for 16 years. She lived alone in a 3-bedroom house in a subdivision built in the late 90s, the kind of neighborhood where people still wave from their driveways and know which house has the best Christmas lights. She had raised 2 children in that house. Her son lived in Dallas now, working in IT. Her daughter, Emma, lived 20 minutes away in a newer apartment complex with a gym and a pool she never used. Elaine had been widowed for 11 years. Her husband, Richard, had died suddenly of a heart attack while mowing the lawn on a Saturday morning in July. She remembered the ambulance, the neighbors standing on the sidewalk, the way the grass was only half cut for weeks because she couldn't bring herself to finish it. She had loved him quietly, the way people do when they've been married for 23 years. His death left a silence in the house that never fully went away. She was not a dramatic person. She did not yell or slam doors. She paid her bills on time, kept her receipts in a labeled folder, and balanced her checkbook every month by hand. She did not use social media. She had a Facebook account she'd opened years ago to see photos of her grandnieces, but she rarely posted and never scrolled. She did not know what TikTok was until that Tuesday in October. The message from Lisa came at 3:47 in the afternoon. Elaine had just gotten home from work. She'd changed out of her scrubs into sweatpants and an old university t-shirt her son had left behind. The air conditioning was running, even though the October heat was finally starting to break. She had poured herself a glass of iced tea and was standing at the sink, rinsing the mug she'd used that morning, when her phone buzzed on the counter. Lisa Perez lived next door. She was 57, retired from the postal service, and had lived in the neighborhood almost as long as Elaine. They borrowed sugar from each other. They watched each other's mail when one of them went out of town. When Elaine's mother had died, Lisa had brought over a casserole and sat with her in the living room without saying much, because sometimes silence is the only appropriate response to grief. The text was short. No emoji. No extra punctuation. Just the link and the question. "Isn't this your daughter?" Elaine dried her hands on the dish towel hanging from the oven handle. She sat down at the kitchen table, the same one she'd bought at a clearance sale in 1998 when Emma was 7 and her son was 10. The wood was scratched in places. There was a water ring near the edge where someone had set a hot mug down years ago. She picked up her phone and tapped the link. The app opened. It asked her to download TikTok. She hesitated, then followed the prompts. The app was installed. The link opened again. And there she was. The video started with a view of her front porch. She recognized the flower mat she'd bought at Target on clearance, the chipped blue pot by the railing that held a fern she'd been trying to keep alive for 2 summers. Then the camera focused on her. She was wrestling with a package, muttering to herself. She couldn't hear what she'd said, but the caption over the video read, "POV, your mom thinks Amazon is a conspiracy." The editing was fast. Her voice was sped up and distorted. Her daughter's face appeared in the corner of the screen, smiling, shaking her head like she was babysitting a wild animal. The view count at the bottom read 3.4 million. The comments were scrolling so fast Elaine couldn't read them all. She caught fragments. "I'd watch a whole show of this. She's like a sitcom character. Protect crazy mom at all costs." The username at the top was her daughter's. Emma's profile picture was a photo from Thanksgiving 3 years ago, the two of them in the kitchen, Emma holding the turkey, both of them laughing. Elaine set the phone down. She stared at the wall for a moment. The kitchen was quiet again. The fridge hummed. The neighbor's leaf blower had moved farther down the street. She picked the phone back up and scrolled. There were more videos. A lot more. She found one where she was talking back to the preacher on TV during a Sunday morning sermon. She remembered that morning. She'd been ironing a blouse and had the television on for background noise. The preacher had said something she disagreed with, and she'd said so out loud, to no one, because she was alone in the house. Except she hadn't been alone. Emma had been there, visiting, phone propped somewhere Elaine hadn't noticed. Another video showed her staring out the window early in the morning, mug in hand. The caption read, "She's staring at the neighbor's trash cans like they're planning something." That morning, she'd been watching a hawk. It had taken a squirrel from the yard, and she'd been trying to scare it off. But in the video, with the music and the caption and the speed of the editing, it looked like she was paranoid. Confused. Old. She scrolled further. There was a video of her asleep in her recliner, head back, mouth open, the remote on her chest. She remembered Emma taking that photo. "Don't you dare post that," she'd said. Emma had grinned and said, "It's just for the family chat." The video had 1.2 million views. Elaine stood up. She walked to the window and looked out at the street. It was a normal Tuesday. Cars parked in driveways. A kid riding a bike. A woman walking a dog. Everything looked the same. But something fundamental had shifted. She had been living her life thinking it was private. Ordinary. Hers. It wasn't. She sat back down at the table, opened her laptop, and typed TikTok into the search bar. She read for an hour. She learned what the app was, how it worked, how people made money from it. She learned about views, likes, comments, sponsorships, creator funds. She learned that content creators could earn thousands of dollars from a single viral video and tens of thousands from consistent content over time. She opened a notebook she kept in the third drawer of the dining room buffet. It was a spiral-bound notebook where she normally tracked bills and grocery lists. She turned to a fresh page and wrote at the top, videos, dates, views, sponsors. By midnight, the page was full. Once you know what you're looking at, your memory rearranges itself. Elaine had always known something was slightly off. Not wrong, exactly. Just odd. But she had been busy. She worked full-time. She paid bills. She kept the house clean. She mowed the lawn and replaced the air filters and remembered to take the trash out on Wednesdays. She didn't have time to sit and analyze every small interaction with her daughter. Life was a series of tasks, one after the other, and she moved through them because that was what adults did. But now, sitting in the quiet of her house with the glow of her laptop screen lighting the dining room table, those small oddities reassembled themselves into a pattern. It had started around the beginning of the pandemic. March of 2020. The world had shut down. Emma had been furloughed from her job at a marketing firm. She'd started coming over more often to check on Elaine. At the time, Elaine had thought it was sweet. Emma would show up unannounced, usually in the late afternoon, and they'd sit in the kitchen and talk while Elaine cooked dinner or folded laundry. But now Elaine remembered something specific, Emma's phone. It was always out. Always propped up somewhere. Leaning against the sugar jar on the counter, camera facing Elaine. Propped on the mantel in the living room when Elaine was dusting. Set vertically against the toaster while Elaine made her morning toast. "Why is that pointing at me?" Elaine had asked once, half laughing, gesturing to the phone on the counter. "It's just on FaceTime, Mom," Emma had said, not looking up from the fridge. "Relax. You're not that interesting." Elaine had laughed it off. She had assumed Emma was talking to a friend. Maybe her boyfriend at the time. It hadn't occurred to her that the phone might be recording. That the camera might be capturing her every movement, every word, every mundane moment of her day. She remembered other things now, too. Emma had started calling her old lady in texts. Not in a mean way. Playfully. Old lady survived another grocery run. Emma had texted once, with a photo of Elaine's overstuffed car trunk. Elaine had thought it was a joke between them. A term of endearment. But now she realized that old lady was also the phrase Emma used in her captions. Living with my paranoid old lady doesn't understand technology, crazy old lady thinks the TV is spying on her. The phrase had never belonged to them. It belonged to the internet. Elaine remembered a day at the grocery store, maybe 8 months ago. She'd been checking out at HB, scanning her loyalty card, when the cashier, a woman in her 40s with purple streaks in her hair, had looked up and smiled. "You're the mom who talks to the plants, right?" the cashier had said, laughing. Elaine had paused, confused. "I guess so," she'd said, because yes, she did talk to her plants. She'd always done that. It was something her own mother had done, and Elaine had picked up the habit without thinking about it. The cashier had laughed again, but hadn't explained. At the time, Elaine had assumed it was just small-town familiarity. People knew each other in neighborhoods like this. They saw you at church, at the pharmacy, at the post office. It wasn't strange for someone to know a small detail about you. But now she understood. The cashier hadn't known her from the neighborhood. She'd known her from TikTok. There were other moments. Teenagers on the street saying, "We love your porch videos," and Elaine waving back, assuming they meant the church livestream she and a few other women had recorded during lockdown. A man at the hardware store asking if she was the lady with the Amazon conspiracy theories, and Elaine laughing politely, thinking it was a misunderstanding. She hadn't understood that these people knew a version of her that she had never agreed to become. Elaine opened Emma's TikTok profile again. She scrolled through the videos, all the way back to the beginning. The first video Emma had posted of her was from April of 2020. It was short. Just 15 seconds. Elaine in the kitchen, wearing a mask, wiping down groceries with disinfectant wipes. The caption read, "My mom thinks COVID lives on bananas." The video had 37,000 views. From there, the videos had increased in frequency. One every few weeks at first. Then one a week. Then several a week. By the summer of 2021, Emma was posting content almost daily, and most of it featured Elaine. Elaine clicked on Emma's profile picture. The account had 2.1 million followers. The bio read, "Documenting my unfiltered life with my unhinged mom." Aging is content. There was a nail polish emoji at the end. Elaine didn't know what it meant. She clicked on the followers. She scrolled through the names. Most of them were young. Teenagers, early 20s. Some were older. A few were men. All of them are strangers. All of them were watching her. She opened her notebook again and started a new list. This one was labeled, "Before these videos." She wrote down everything she could remember. The phone on the counter. The old lady texts. The cashier at H-E-B. The teenagers on the street. Every moment that had felt slightly odd at the time but had been easy to dismiss. By the time she finished, it was after 11. She closed the notebook, stood up, and walked to the kitchen. She poured herself a glass of water and stood at the sink, looking out the window at the dark street. Her phone buzzed. It was Lisa. "Did you watch it?" the text said. Elaine called her instead of texting back. Lisa answered on the second ring. "Hey, honey," she said. Her voice was careful. Gentle. The way people talk when they think you might be upset. "Did you know?" Elaine asked. There was a pause. Elaine could hear the television in the background. A game show. Wheel of Fortune, maybe. She could hear Lisa's husband coughing in another room. "I saw a few," Lisa said slowly. "My granddaughter showed me. I thought you knew." "I'm sorry, honey." "It's fine," Elaine said automatically. "I'm fine." They talked for 10 minutes. Lisa told her about her son's new job, about her grandson's soccer game, about the new restaurant that had opened near the mall. Normal conversation. Comforting. When Elaine hung up, she felt steadier. She sat back down at the table and opened her laptop. She typed "rights to your own image" into the search bar and started reading. That night, Elaine made herself a plate of leftovers she didn't taste and sat down with her laptop at the dining table. She had never been a person who acted impulsively. She was methodical, careful. She wanted to understand exactly what she was dealing with before she decided what to do about it. She downloaded TikTok onto her phone. The app asked for her age. She typed in 54, answering honestly out of habit. Then she searched for Emma's username again. The profile is loaded. 2.1 million followers. Elaine stared at that number for a long time, trying to compare it to something real. More than the population of the entire city of Houston. More than the number of people who had ever attended her church, or shopped at her grocery store, or walked past her on the street in her entire life. She clicked on the videos tab. There were hundreds of them. She started scrolling, clicking on the ones that featured her. One video showed her checking the mail. She was muttering to herself, sorting through envelopes, tossing junk mail into the recycling bin by the door. The caption read, "She treats every envelope like it's a government surveillance notice." The video had 900,000 views. Another video showed her in the backyard, pulling weeds. She was bent over, her knees aching, her hands covered in dirt. The caption read, "She's been out here for 2 hours and I swear she's having full conversations with the plants." The video had 1.3 million views. There was a video of her trying to set up a new coffee maker. She was reading the instructions, squinting at the small print, pressing buttons on the machine. The caption read, "Technology is her mortal enemy." The video had 2.6 million views. Elaine clicked on one more. It was a compilation. 15 different clips of her, all edited together with fast cuts and upbeat music. The title was, "Living with My Paranoid Boomer Mom." Best of. In the thumbnail, she was in her bathrobe, pointing at the sky. Emma had overlaid audio of someone screaming. Elaine remembered that morning. A hawk had taken a squirrel from the yard, and she'd been trying to scare it off. It was just life. Just a Tuesday morning. But in the video, with the editing and the music and the caption, it looked like she was losing her mind. The view count at the bottom read 50 million. 50 million. Elaine set the phone down and rubbed her eyes. She felt tired. Not the kind of tired that comes from physical work, but the kind that comes from realizing the ground beneath you has shifted without warning. She opened Emma's Instagram. The same videos were there. She opened YouTube. Longer compilations, some as long as 10 minutes, with ad breaks in the middle. Affiliate links in the descriptions. Timestamps in the comments. She clicked on one of the YouTube videos. An ad played first. Then the video started. It was a montage of clips from Emma's TikTok, all featuring Elaine. Emma's voice was overlaid, narrating. "So my mom is convinced that Amazon is tracking her," Emma said, laughing. "She thinks every package is part of some conspiracy." The video cut to Elaine opening a package on the porch, muttering about the amount of tape. Then it cut to Emma's face, rolling her eyes at the camera. "I can't make this up," Emma said. The video had 3 million views. The description included links to products Emma was promoting. A phone case. A subscription box. A brand of coffee. Elaine clicked on the comments. "Your mom is iconic. I need a whole series of this. She's like a character from a sitcom. Is she acting or is she really like this? Protect crazy mom at all costs." Elaine scrolled further. Some comments were more direct. "Does she know you're filming her? This feels kind of exploitative. I love your content, but maybe ask her first." Those comments had fewer likes. They were buried under the positive ones. Elaine closed the laptop. She stood up and walked to the kitchen. She poured herself a glass of water and stood at the sink, looking out the window. The street was dark now. The neighbors' houses were lit from within. She could see the glow of televisions through curtains, the silhouette of someone moving in a kitchen. She thought about her daughter. Emma had always been creative. As a child, she loved putting on plays in the living room, dressing up in costumes, making her brother and her parents watch her perform. She'd been on the debate team in high school. She'd studied communications in college. She was good at talking to people, at presenting ideas, at making things sound interesting. Elaine had been proud of her. She still was, in a complicated way. But this felt different. This wasn't creativity. This was something else. She picked up her phone and opened her text messages. She scrolled to Emma's name. The last message was from 3 days ago. Emma had texted, "Busy week, will come by soon." Elaine had replied, "No rush, love you." She thought about calling, confronting, asking why, but she didn't. Instead, she opened her notebook again and started a new page. At the top, she wrote, "What I need to know." She made a list. How much money is she making from these videos? Are there sponsorships? How many platforms is she using? What are my legal rights? Can I make her take the videos down? What happens if I ask and she says no? She looked at the list for a long time. Then she added one more question. What do I actually want? She didn't have an answer yet, but she knew she needed one. Elaine didn't confront Emma. Not that night. Not that week. She went to work at the clinic. She came home. She watered the plants. She paid the light bill. Outwardly, nothing changed. But her evenings became research. She started with the basics. She watched YouTube tutorials about how influencers actually made money. A teenager with braces and a ring light explained ad revenue more clearly than any banker had ever explained interest rates to her. She learned that TikTok paid creators through something called the Creator Fund, which distributed money based on views and engagement. She learned that sponsorships were where the real money was. Brands would pay influencers thousands of dollars to feature their products in a single video. She took notes. She wrote down terms she didn't understand and looked them up later. Engagement rate, affiliate links, CPM, click-through rate. She felt like she was learning a new language, one that her daughter spoke fluently and had never taught her. She searched for articles about influencers and income. She found a blog post written by a mid-level TikTok creator who broke down her earnings. For an account with 2 million followers, she estimated she made between $5,000 and $15,000 per month from the Creator Fund, and another $10,000 to $30,000 per month from sponsorships and affiliate links. Elaine did the math. If Emma's account was similar, she could be making anywhere from $15,000 to $45,000 per month. More than Elaine made in a year at the clinic. She opened Emma's Instagram again and scrolled through the posts. She started noticing things she'd missed before. Brand tags. Sponsored post disclaimers in small text at the bottom of captions. Links to products in Emma's bio. One post showed Emma's kitchen. It was spotless. Not the way it normally looked when Emma had been working all day. The counter was clear. The dishes were done. There was a bottle of cleaning spray in the center of the frame, label facing the camera. The caption read, "Even my paranoid mom approves of this cleaner." Link in bio, there was a small hashtag ad at the end. Elaine clicked on the link. It took her to a website selling eco-friendly cleaning products. At the bottom of the page, there was a discount code, Emma15. She went back to Instagram and looked at more posts. There was a skincare ad, a meal kit ad, a furniture ad. Each one featured Emma's apartment, Emma's life, Emma's routine. And in many of them, Elaine appeared. Sometimes just in the background of a video. Sometimes as the subject of the joke. "My mom thinks this face cream is witchcraft," Elaine in the background, squinting at a jar, while Emma laughed at the camera. "I try to teach my mom how to use this app." It went exactly how you'd expect, Elaine looking confused, holding a phone, while Emma narrated over the clip. Each post had a sponsor. Each sponsor had paid Emma money. And Elaine's face, Elaine's confusion, Elaine's ordinary moments had been the content that made those posts valuable. She opened her notebook and started a new list. She wrote down the dates of the sponsored posts, the brands involved, the estimated payout for each one, based on the research she'd done. By the time she was finished, she estimated that Emma had made at least $50,000 from posts that featured Elaine in the past year alone. She closed the notebook and sat back in her chair. The house was quiet. The clock on the wall ticked. The fridge hummed. Outside, a dog barked. She thought about calling a lawyer. But she didn't know what kind of lawyer handled this. She didn't know if what Emma was doing was even illegal. She didn't know if she had any leverage at all. So she kept researching. She searched rights to your own image again. This time, she added family to the search. She found articles about parents suing their children for posting photos without consent. She found articles about privacy laws and public figures. She found a lot of legal jargon she didn't fully understand. But she also found something useful, a concept called right of publicity. It meant that people had the right to control how their image and likeness were used, especially for commercial purposes. If someone was making money off your face without your permission, you might have legal grounds to stop them. Elaine printed out 3 articles and highlighted the relevant sections with a yellow marker. She put them in a folder and labeled it Legal Research. Then she searched for Lawyer Houston, Texas Media Rights. A list of law firms appeared. Most of them looked expensive. Tall glass buildings downtown. Websites with stock photos of serious men in suits shaking hands. She scrolled further and found a smaller firm. The website was simple. No stock photos. Just a headshot of a man in his 40s with graying hair and a tired smile. His name was Daniel Hyun. The website said he specialized in contracts, media rights, and small business disputes. There was a line at the bottom that said, "Free 15-minute consultation." Elaine clicked on the contact form and filled it out. She wrote a brief explanation. "My daughter has been posting videos of me on social media without my knowledge or consent. She is making money from these videos. I would like to know what my options are." She hit submit. 2 days later, she received an email. Daniel Hyun had availability the following Saturday at 10 in the morning. She replied and confirmed the appointment. On Saturday, Elaine put on the black slacks she wore to church and the pearl earrings her mother had left her. She drove downtown and parked in a metered spot near the office building. The office was on the 3rd floor. The hallways smelled like old carpet and burnt coffee. Daniel's office was small. There was a desk, 2 chairs, a bookshelf full of legal texts, and a plant on the windowsill that needed watering. He stood when she came in and shook her hand. "Mrs. Morrison," he said. "Please sit." She sat. He sat across from her and opened a legal pad. "Tell me what's going on," he said. She told him. She explained how she'd found the videos, how long they'd been posted, how many views they had, how much money Emma was likely making. She showed him her notebook with the dates and the view counts and the sponsor names. She showed him screenshots of the videos on her phone. Daniel listened without interrupting. He took notes. When she finished, he leaned back in his chair and looked at the ceiling for a moment. "This is your house?" he asked. "Yes," Elaine said. "I've owned it for 23 years. Paid it off 8 years ago. And she filmed you there without your permission." "I didn't know I was being filmed for strangers," Elaine said. "I thought she was on FaceTime. Or texting. I didn't know the camera was recording." Daniel nodded. "Okay, so here's the situation. Texas is a one-party consent state, which means she can legally record conversations as long as she's part of them. But the issue here isn't just recording. It's for commercial use. She's making money off your image without your consent. That's where you have leverage. Can I make her take the videos down?" Elaine asked. "Maybe," Daniel said. "It depends. If you go to court, you could argue for emotional distress, invasion of privacy, commercial exploitation. But court is expensive and slow. What I'd recommend is starting with pressure points." "What do you mean?" "Sponsors," Daniel said. "Brands don't like risk. If they think they're associated with content that exploits someone without consent, they'll distance themselves fast. We can send letters to the sponsors your daughter has worked with. Polite, factual letters explaining that you did not consent to appear in the content they paid for. That alone might be enough to make her stop." "Will that work?" Elaine asked. "It might," Daniel said. "It depends on how much she values those relationships. If she's making serious money, she won't want to lose her sponsors. And if the sponsors start asking questions, she'll have to make a choice: keep posting content with you, or protect her income." Elaine thought about it. "What if she just keeps posting anyway?" "Then we escalate," Daniel said. "We send a letter to her directly. We talk about legal action. We make it clear that you're serious. But I need to know what you want exactly. Do you want money? Do you want an apology? Do you want the videos gone?" Elaine looked at her hands. Her wedding ring was still on her finger, even though Richard had been gone for 11 years. She hadn't taken it off. She didn't know why. I want her to stop making me into a joke, she said quietly. And I want control back over my face. Daniel nodded. That's clearer than most people. They spent the next hour drafting letters. Daniel wrote. Elaine reviewed. They kept the language calm and factual. No threats. No anger. Just clear statements of fact. The letters outlined Elaine's lack of consent, the scale of exposure, the commercial use of her image without permission. They included timestamps of specific videos, view counts, and screenshots of sponsored posts. At the end, each letter requested that the brand cease working with Emma until the matter was resolved, or at minimum, request proof of consent for any future content featuring Elaine. Daniel printed copies of the letters and put them in a manila folder. We'll send these certified mail, he said. So there's a record of delivery. How much do I owe you? Elaine asked. For today? Nothing, Daniel said. You've done most of the work already. If we need to escalate, we'll talk about a retainer. But let's see what happens first. Elaine thanked him and left. She drove home and sat in her car in the driveway for a few minutes, staring at the house. It looked the same as always. The blue pot on the porch, the chipped paint on the railing, the mailbox with the faded numbers. But something had shifted. She wasn't just reacting anymore. She was acting. She went inside, made herself a sandwich, and sat down at the kitchen table. She opened her laptop and typed how to make a TikTok video into the search bar. Elaine had never made a video before. She barely understood how to use TikTok, much less how to create content for it. But she was tired of being the subject of other people's stories. If her face was going to be online, she wanted to control the narrative. She watched tutorials. A woman in her 30s with bright lipstick explained the basics: lighting, framing, sound quality. A college student demonstrated how to use a phone stand. An older man, maybe 60, walked through the settings step by step, speaking slowly and clearly. Elaine took notes. She didn't want filters. She didn't want music or fast cuts or captions that made her look ridiculous. She just wanted to tell the truth. On Sunday afternoon, she texted Lisa's granddaughter, Maya. Maya was 19, studying graphic design at community college and working part-time at a coffee shop near the mall. Elaine had known her since she was a baby. Do you have time to help me with something? Elaine texted. Maya replied within minutes. Sure. What's up? I need help recording a video, Elaine wrote. For the internet. Maya arrived an hour later. She had a nose ring and purple streaks in her hair and carried a tote bag covered in pins. She looked around the kitchen, assessing. What kind of video? She asked. Just me talking, Elaine said. Sitting at the table. Nothing fancy. Okay, Maya said. She pulled a small phone stand out of her bag and set it up on the counter, angling it toward the table. She plugged in a small microphone and clipped it to Elaine's color. Natural light is best, Maya said, adjusting the stand. And you're going to want to look at the camera, not at the screen. Pretend you're talking to someone sitting right here. She pointed to the phone. What should I say? Elaine asked. Just tell the truth, Maya said. Whatever you're feeling. People can tell when you're faking. Elaine sat down at the table. She looked at the phone. The red light was on. She took a deep breath. My name is Elaine Morrison, she said. I'm 54 years old. I work as a receptionist at a family clinic. I live in the same house I've lived in for 23 years. I raised 2 kids here. I buried my husband from here. I thought my life was private. She paused. Her hands were shaking slightly. She folded them in her lap. 2 weeks ago, I found out that my daughter has been posting videos of me online without my knowledge. She's been doing it for over 2 years. The videos show me doing normal things. Cooking, cleaning, talking to myself. Things I do when I think I'm alone. Her voice was steady, calm. She wasn't angry. She was just stating facts. The videos have millions of views. Strangers know my kitchen. They know my habits. They call me crazy old lady and paranoid mom. They think I'm a character. But I'm not. I'm a person. And I didn't agree to this. She looked down at her hands, then back at the camera. I don't know what the law says about this. I don't know if I have any legal recourse. But I know this. If your children turn you into content without asking, you're allowed to tell your own side of the story. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to exist without being entertainment. She stopped. Maya stepped forward and pressed a button on the phone. That was perfect, Maya said quietly. Really? Elaine asked. I didn't prepare anything. That's why it was perfect, Maya said. She sat down across from Elaine and started tapping on the phone. I'm going to trim the beginning and end, but everything else stays. No filters. No music. Just you. Elaine watched as Maya worked. After a few minutes, Maya looked up. Do you want me to post it? She asked. Elaine hesitated. Will anyone see it? I don't know, Maya said honestly. It's hard to get views at first, but it's worth trying. And if nothing else, you'll have your side of the story out there. Elaine nodded. Okay, post it. Maya tapped a few more times, then handed the phone to Elaine. It's live. Elaine looked at the screen. The video was there under her name. Elaine Morrison, 54. The view count was at 0. Then 1. Then 3. She set the phone down and thanked Maya. They talked for a few more minutes and then Maya left, promising to check in the next day. Elaine sat alone in the kitchen. The house was quiet. The video had been posted for less than 10 minutes and had 17 views. She didn't expect much. But at least now, her voice was out there. Even if only 17 people heard it. That was more than 0. The letters went out on a Tuesday. Elaine took them to the post office herself, standing in line with the manila envelopes in her hands. She paid for certified mail with tracking numbers and wrote each number down in her notebook. By the time she got home, her video had 327 views. Mostly women in their 40s and 50s, judging by their profile pictures. The comments were gentle. Tired. Familiar. This happened to my mom too. Thank you for speaking up. I didn't realize this was a pattern until now. Elaine read each comment. She didn't reply. She just read. By Friday, something had shifted. A Twitter account with 70,000 followers stitched a clip of her video, the part where she said, I didn't know I was famous for being mocked, with one of Emma's most popular compilations. The juxtaposition was stark. Elaine's calm, measured voice. Emma's fast-paced editing, laughing narration, captions calling Elaine unhinged. The Twitter thread blew up. Within hours, it had been retweeted thousands of times. People started talking about the ethics of turning older relatives into content. Podcasts picked it up. A journalist from an online magazine emailed Elaine, asking if she would be willing to be interviewed anonymously about intergenerational digital consent. Elaine said yes, as long as the journalist changed Emma's name and didn't specify their city. The article was published 3 days later. It didn't mention Elaine or Emma by name, but it quoted Elaine's video and linked to it in the text. The view count climbed. 10,000. 50,000. 500,000. Elaine's phone started buzzing constantly with notifications. Comments from strangers. Messages from people sharing their own stories. A woman in her 60s said her son had been posting videos of her for years and she hadn't known. A man in his 40s said he'd been filming his father without asking and felt sick about it now. I deleted all my videos of my mom, one comment said. She doesn't know, but I feel better. Elaine kept reading. She didn't post follow-ups. She didn't respond to every message. She just let the video exist. Meanwhile, Emma's content started to change. Elaine noticed it in small ways. Fewer videos featuring Elaine. More generic lifestyle content. A vague Instagram story about dealing with negativity, another story about people who don't understand the creator economy. Emma never mentioned Elaine directly. Online, Elaine remained a situation, a problem to be managed. Then, one evening, Daniel called. So, he said, and Elaine could hear the smile in his voice. It seems the letters landed right when the tide turned on her little niche. What happened? Elaine asked. She was sitting at the kitchen table, folding laundry. 2 of her sponsors reached out this afternoon, Daniel said. They'd like to resolve the matter amicably. What does that mean? Elaine asked. She set down the towel she'd been folding and picked up a pen. It means they don't want to be associated with exploiting an older relative without consent, Daniel said. They're asking what you need to consider it closed. Elaine was quiet for a moment. What are my options? We can ask for a lot of things, Daniel said. Money. A public apology. Permanent removal of content. It depends on what you want. I want the videos gone, Elaine said. All of them. And I want her to agree, in writing, that she won't post anything with me in it again without my explicit permission. That's reasonable, Daniel said. What about money? Elaine hesitated. She'd been thinking about this for days. I don't want money, she said slowly. But I do want something. There's a portion of her earnings that came from using my image. I didn't agree to that. I didn't get a say. I think it's fair that I get something. How much? Daniel asked. I don't know, Elaine said. What's reasonable? Let me draft something, Daniel said. I'll send it to you for approval before we send it to them. The next day, Elaine received an email with a proposed agreement. It was 3 pages long, written in dense legal language. She read it twice, slowly, highlighting the important parts. The agreement stated that Emma would remove all videos featuring Elaine from TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and any other platforms within 30 days. Emma would agree not to post any new content featuring Elaine without written consent. In exchange for Elaine's agreement not to pursue further legal action, Emma would transfer 15% of her total earnings from videos featuring Elaine over the past 2 years into an account in Elaine's name. Daniel had done the math. Based on Emma's estimated income, that came out to approximately $37,000. Elaine stared at the number for a long time. It wasn't life-changing, but it was enough to pay off the last of her car loan. Enough to fix the roof that had been leaking in the back bedroom. Enough to feel like, in some small way, she'd been compensated for the loss of control over her own image. She called Daniel. It's good, she said. Send it. The agreement went to the sponsors first. They forwarded it to Emma with a clear message: sign or lose the partnerships. Emma signed 2 days later. Daniel sent Elaine a copy of the signed agreement, along with a brief email: done. Elaine printed the agreement and put it in a folder. She didn't celebrate. She just sat at the table for a few minutes, looking at the pages, and then she went back to her normal routine. But something had changed. She could feel it. The ground beneath her was solid again. Around the same time, Elaine's video passed 10 million views. She hadn't posted anything new. Just that one video. But people kept sharing it, stitching it, quoting it, using it to start their own conversations about family, boundaries, and consent. A few creators reached out, asking if Elaine wanted to collaborate. She declined most of them. But one message stood out. It was from a woman named Joanna, in her late 50s, who ran a small YouTube channel about aging and family dynamics. I don't want to interview you, Joanna wrote. I just want to say thank you. My daughter was doing the same thing to me. I didn't have the words to explain why it bothered me until I saw your video. Elaine replied. They emailed back and forth for a few days. Joanna sent her links to articles, videos, and support groups for people navigating digital boundaries with their adult children. Elaine started watching other videos. Not on TikTok, but on YouTube. Longer, slower content. People talking about their lives without editing for comedy or spectacle. Older women discussing retirement, widowhood, health, money. It felt closer to real conversation than anything she'd seen on TikTok. One evening, she opened her laptop and looked at her own channel. The video had over 12 million views now. The comment section was full. She scrolled through, reading, "You're so brave. This helped me set boundaries with my kids. I showed this to my daughter, and we had the first real conversation we've had in years." Elaine felt something shift in her chest. Not pride, exactly, but something close. Recognition, maybe. She'd been seen. Not as a joke, but as a person. She opened her notebook and started writing. Not a script. Just thoughts. Ideas. Things she wanted to say. Over the next 2 weeks, she recorded 3 more videos. Each one was simple. Just her at the table, talking directly to the camera. The first one was about boundaries. How I set rules with my adult kids. She talked about the agreement she'd made with Emma. She didn't name her. She didn't shame her. She just explained, calmly, what boundaries looked like in practice. The second one was about aging. what it's like to be 54 and suddenly visible. She talked about how strange it was to be ignored for most of her adult life, by marketers, by media, by culture, and then suddenly thrust into visibility because she'd been made into a joke. The third one was about consent. Why I turned my phone face down at dinner. She talked about the feeling of always being watched, of never knowing if a moment was private or public. She talked about how small choices, turning off a camera, asking before posting, keeping some things just for yourself, could change the dynamic of a relationship. People called it mom talk, then boundary mom. The videos didn't go as viral as the first one, but they didn't need to. Each one got a few 100,000 views. The comments were thoughtful, supportive, sometimes critical, but in a way that felt like genuine engagement rather than mockery. Elaine didn't try to grow the channel. She didn't optimize for the algorithm. She just posted when she felt like she had something to say. Maya helped her with thumbnails. "You're the only YouTube channel where someone just sits," Maya said one afternoon, laughing. "It's oddly comforting." "I'm not trying to entertain anyone," Elaine said. "I'm just talking." "That's what makes it work," Maya replied. Elaine's revenge, if you could call it that, wasn't a single moment. It was the slow realization that the audience Emma had built on her back was now listening to her. They weren't laughing. They were learning. Emma had made her content. Elaine had made herself a person. 2 weeks after the sponsors agreement was finalized, Emma came over unannounced. It was a Wednesday evening. Elaine was paying bills at the table, a stack of envelopes and her old calculator pushed to one side. She heard a car pull into the driveway and looked up. Through the window, she saw Emma getting out of her car. Elaine didn't move. She just watched as Emma walked up the driveway, keys in hand, hesitating at the door. Emma usually knocked now. Before, she would have just walked in. But the rules had changed. Emma knocked. Elaine stood, walked to the door, and opened it. "Can we talk?" Emma asked. Her voice was quieter than usual. "We're talking," Elaine said. Emma glanced at the phone on the counter behind Elaine. "In private?" Elaine reached over and turned the phone face down. "There's no camera on," she said. "Sit down." Emma followed her into the kitchen and sat at the table. Elaine sat across from her. They looked at each other for a moment, neither speaking. Emma looked thinner than the last time Elaine had really looked at her. Less makeup. Dark circles under her eyes. For a moment, Elaine saw the little girl who used to crawl into her bed after nightmares, whispering, "Mom, I had a bad dream." "You're ruining my career," Emma said quietly. "I think you're doing a thorough job of that yourself," Elaine replied, just as quietly. Emma flinched. "I was just joking," she said. "Everyone loves you. They call you their internet mom." "I'm not their mom," Elaine said. "I'm yours." "That's not the same thing." Emma stared at the table. Her hands were folded in her lap, the same way Elaine's often were. "You could have just asked me to stop," she said. "I didn't know the scale of it to ask properly," Elaine said. "And when I did know, you were already making money from my confusion. I've spent most of my life being reasonable. This time I wanted to be effective." Emma was quiet for a long time. The clock on the wall ticked. The fridge hummed. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked. "What do you want from me?" Emma asked finally. Elaine reached for the manila folder on the table and slid it across to Emma. "This is a copy of the agreement you signed," she said. "I want to go through it point by point, so we're both clear on what it means." Emma opened the folder and scanned the pages. Her jaw tightened. "I already signed this." "I know," Elaine said. "But I want to make sure you understand it. No more filming in my house without my explicit yes. No more captions that question my sanity. No more jokes that I don't understand until I see strangers repeating them in the grocery store." "I get it," Emma said. "Do you?" Elaine asked. "Because I need to hear you say it." Emma looked up. Her eyes were red, but she wasn't crying. "I won't post anything with you in it without asking first. And if I say no, then I won't post it," Emma said. "Good," Elaine said. She closed the folder. "Now, do you want to talk about why you did it in the first place?" Emma shook her head. "I don't know if I can explain it." "Try," Elaine said. Emma took a deep breath. "I was broke," she said. "I got furloughed in 2020. I couldn't find another job. I started posting videos because I was bored and scared and I didn't know what else to do. And then people liked them. They really liked them. And I started making money. And I thought it was harmless. I thought you'd find it funny. I didn't, Elaine said. I know that now, Emma said. But I didn't think about it. I didn't think about how it would feel for you. I just thought about the views. Elaine nodded. I understand that, she said. But understanding doesn't mean I forgive it. Not yet. Emma's face crumpled slightly. Do you hate me? No, Elaine said. But I don't trust you the way I used to. And that's going to take time. They sat in silence for a few more minutes. Then Emma asked, what if we did it together? Like, plan bits. Where you know what's happening and we both agree. Elaine considered it. Maybe, she said. If and when I feel like it. And we'd split the earnings from anything I'm in. Emma looked surprised. Split them. 50-50, Elaine said. If you want me in your videos, you pay me. That's how it works. Emma opened her mouth, closed it, then nodded. Okay. They didn't hug. They didn't cry. Elaine walked Emma to the door, and Emma left without saying anything else. Elaine stood in the doorway for a moment, watching the taillights disappear down the street. Then she went back inside, sat at the table, and finished paying her bills. The next month, Emma's content shifted. Fewer personal clips. More generic lifestyle content. Some of her followers complained. Where's Crazy Mom? They asked. Bring her back. Emma posted a vague statement. Taking a break from family content to focus on other things. Thanks for understanding. Some people praised her for listening and growing, others accused her of caving to pressure. The comments section became a debate about culture, family dynamics, and boundaries. Elaine didn't read them. That was Emma's story now, not hers. Elaine's channel settled into a rhythm. One video every couple of weeks. Sometimes more, sometimes less. She didn't worry about consistency. She didn't check the analytics. She just posted when she had something to say. In December, she posted a video about Christmas. How I'm spending the holidays this year. She talked about the pressure to perform happiness, to post the perfect family photo, to make everything look flawless. She talked about how she was choosing quiet instead. A small tree. A few decorations. Dinner with Lisa and her family. The video got 600,000 views. The comments were full of people saying they felt the same way. That they were tired of performing. That they wanted permission to just exist. Elaine read the comments and felt something settle in her chest. She was helping people. Not by being funny or dramatic, but by being honest. In January, she went part-time at the clinic. Not because she had to, but because she could. The money from the agreement with Emma had paid off her car and fixed the roof. Her YouTube channel brought in a small but steady income, not enough to live on, but enough to make a difference. She used the extra time to do things she'd put off for years. She planted 3 rose bushes in the front yard. She repainted the guest bedroom. She started volunteering at the library on Thursday afternoons, helping older adults learn how to use computers. One afternoon, a woman in her 60s asked Elaine to help her understand Instagram. My daughter posts pictures of me all the time, the woman said. I don't know how to make her stop. Elaine showed her how to adjust her privacy settings, how to untag herself, how to have a conversation about boundaries. The woman thanked her and left with a printed guide Elaine had made. A week later, Elaine received a handwritten note in the mail. Thank you for helping my mother, it said. We had the conversation. I deleted the photos. I didn't realize how much it bothered her. Elaine put the note in her desk drawer and smiled. Control, she was learning, was quieter than revenge. It was paperwork and passwords and knowing you could say no. It was small moments of clarity, repeated over time, until they became a new normal. By spring, Emma and Elaine had settled into a new rhythm. They texted more than they called. Emma would ask before coming over. Is it okay if I stop by Saturday? She'd text. Elaine would say yes or no, depending on her plans. When Emma did visit, she left her phone in her bag unless Elaine said it was okay to take it out. If Emma wanted to film something, a recipe, a story, a moment, she would ask first. Can I film this? Emma asked one afternoon in March. They were making pasta together, and Emma wanted to show her followers how to make the sauce Elaine had been making for 30 years. "What would you say about me?" Elaine asked. "Just that you're teaching me your recipe," Emma said. "No jokes. No captions." Elaine thought about it. "Okay," she said. "But I want to see it before you post." "Deal," Emma said. They filmed the video together. Emma set up the camera on the counter, and they walked through the steps of making the sauce. Elaine explained the measurements, the timing, the little tricks she'd learned over the years. Emma asked questions. She didn't narrate over Elaine. She didn't speed up the footage. She just let Elaine talk. When they were done, Emma showed Elaine the rough cut. "What do you think?" "It's good," Elaine said. "But change the caption." "What's wrong with it?" "It says, 'Mom finally let me film her cooking,'" Elaine said. "That makes it sound like I was the problem." "Change it to, 'Cooking with my mom.'" Emma nodded. "Okay." The video was posted the next day. It got 200,000 views. The comments were different this time. Calmer. More appreciative. "This is so wholesome. I love seeing her actually teach instead of just being the joke. More of this, please." Emma sent Elaine a screenshot of the comments. "People like it," she wrote. "Good," Elaine replied. They didn't make videos together often. Maybe once a month, if that. But when they did, it was on Elaine's terms. She reviewed the footage. She approved the captions. If she said no, Emma didn't post. That was the new rule. And it worked. 1 year later, in November of 2023, the sun came into Elaine's kitchen at a different angle. The seasons had shifted. The trees in the backyard were bare. The air was cooler. Elaine sat at the table with a cup of tea and no camera anywhere near her, just listening to the house breathe. People still recognized her sometimes. At the grocery store. At church. Once, in the waiting room at the dentist's office. "Are you that mom from the video?" a young woman asked, careful, like she didn't want to offend. "I'm a mom from a video," Elaine said. "Yes. I just wanted to say thank you," the woman said. "I was posting videos of my grandma without asking. I stopped after I saw yours." "Good," Elaine said. "She'll appreciate that." It happened more often than Elaine expected. Strangers telling her they'd changed their habits. Deleted old videos. Had conversations with their parents. Set new boundaries. She didn't feel famous. She felt useful. And that was better. At home, life was quiet again. Elaine posted videos when she felt like it. Sometimes she went weeks without posting. Her subscriber count stayed around 300,000, a small audience compared to Emma's, but a loyal one. Emma's channel had changed too. She still posted regularly, but the content was different. Less about her personal life, more about lifestyle tips, organization, productivity. The comments were less chaotic. The engagement was steadier. They spoke on the phone every Sunday. Not long conversations. Just check-ins. "How's work? Did you see the weather forecast? I'm thinking about painting the living room." Normal. Boring. Safe. One Sunday in late November, Emma asked, "Can I come by for Thanksgiving?" Elaine paused. "Will you bring your phone?" "Not to film," Emma said quickly. "Just to have. In case someone calls." "Okay," Elaine said. "Come at noon." Thanksgiving was small. Just Elaine, Emma, Lisa's husband, and Maya. They ate in the dining room, the table set with the good plates Elaine only used twice a year. Emma helped cook. She didn't take any photos. She didn't post anything. At one point, Elaine's phone buzzed with a notification. A comment on one of her videos. She glanced at it, then turned the phone face down and set it on the kitchen counter, away from the table. "You okay?" Emma asked. "Yeah," Elaine said. "Just turning down the volume." Emma smiled. Not a big smile. Just a small one. "Good." They finished dinner. They cleaned up together. They sat in the living room and watched a movie on TV, the kind of old movie they used to watch when Emma was a kid. No one checked their phones. No one mentioned views or followers or sponsors. It was just a normal Thanksgiving. And that was enough. By the time December arrived, Elaine had settled into a routine that felt sustainable. She worked 3 days a week at the clinic. She posted videos when she had something to say. She saw Emma once or twice a month, always on agreed-upon terms. She started attending a book club at the library. She went to church on Sundays. She had coffee with Lisa every Thursday morning. She lived her life the way she had before the videos, but with one crucial difference. She was paying attention now. She knew where the cameras were. She knew when her image was being captured. And she had the power to say no. One evening in mid-December, she was sitting at the kitchen table, wrapping Christmas presents, when her phone buzzed. It was a message from a woman named Claire who lived in Oregon. "I just wanted to thank you," the message said. "My son has been posting videos of me for 2 years. I confronted him after watching your videos. He apologized and took them all down. We're rebuilding trust now. I wouldn't have known how to start that conversation without your example." Elaine read the message twice. She thought about replying, but didn't. She just set the phone down and went back to wrapping presents. Later that night, she opened her laptop and checked her YouTube channel. The comments on her most recent video were thoughtful. Someone had asked a question about how to set boundaries with adult children who didn't live nearby. Someone else had shared a story about their own mother, who had been turned into a meme without consent and didn't know how to address it. Elaine thought about making a video to answer those questions, but she was tired. So instead, she made a note in her notebook: video idea, long-distance boundaries. How to enforce rules when your kids live far away. She would film it another day. Or maybe she wouldn't. It didn't matter. The channel was hers. The schedule was hers. The choice was hers. That was the point. In January of 2024, Elaine celebrated her 55th birthday. Emma came over with a cake from the bakery Elaine liked. Lisa and Maya stopped by with flowers. They sang "Happy Birthday" in Elaine's living room, and Emma did not pull out her phone to record it. "Do you want me to take a picture?" Emma asked after they'd sung. Elaine thought about it. "Just one," she said. "For us. Not for posting." Emma took the photo. She showed it to Elaine. It was a good photo. Everyone is smiling. The cake in the center of the table. The flowers in the background. "Thank you," Elaine said. Emma nodded. She didn't ask to post it. She just put her phone back in her pocket. They ate cake. They talked about normal things. Work, weather, Maya's new job at a design firm. When everyone left, Elaine sat alone in the living room, looking at the leftover cake on the counter and the flowers on the table. She felt content. Not happy in the loud, performative way people showed on social media. Just quietly satisfied. Her life was hers again. Her image was hers. Her choices were hers. That night, she checked her TikTok account for the first time in weeks. Her original video, the one where she'd explained what happened, had over 15 million views now. The comments were still coming in, months later. "Still thinking about this video. Showed this to my kids. We had a good talk. Thank you for giving me permission to set boundaries." Elaine scrolled through a few more comments, then closed the app. She didn't need to read them all. She knew the message had landed. People were listening. She turned off her phone and set it on the kitchen counter, face down, next to the fruit bowl. She made herself a cup of tea and stood at the sink, watching the steam curl up into the late evening light. Outside, the street was quiet. A few houses down, someone's Christmas lights were still up, blinking red and green in the dark. A car drove past slowly, headlights sweeping across the front yard. Elaine took a sip of tea and thought about everything that had happened over the past year. The discovery. The research. The video. The agreement. The slow, careful rebuilding of boundaries with her daughter. She thought about the letters Daniel had sent. The responses from the sponsors. The way Emma's face had looked when she realized she'd have to change her content or lose her income. She thought about the moment she decided to film her own video. Sitting at this same table, looking at the camera, saying the words she'd been holding in for weeks. "I didn't agree to this." That moment had changed everything. Not because it went viral. Not because it made her famous. But because it gave her agency. For the first time in years, she had control over her own narrative. She wasn't a character anymore. She was a person. And that was worth more than any amount of views. By the spring of 2024, Elaine's life had taken on a new shape. She'd reduced her hours at the clinic to 2 days a week. She'd started volunteering more at the library, teaching digital literacy classes to older adults. She'd joined a gardening club that met on Saturday mornings in the community center parking lot. Her YouTube channel had plateaued at around 350,000 subscribers. She posted once or twice a month, always on her own schedule. The videos were never longer than 10 minutes. She talked about aging, boundaries, family dynamics, financial planning, practical topics, real topics, things that mattered. The comments were consistently positive. People said her videos felt like talking to a friend, that they appreciated the lack of drama, that they learned something every time. Elaine didn't make much money from the channel. YouTube ad revenue was modest. But she didn't need much. The agreement with Emma had given her a cushion. Her expenses were low. She owned her house outright. She drove a paid-off car. She lived simply, the way she always had. In April, Emma texted her with a proposal. "I've been thinking," the text said. "What if we did a series together? Like, a real collaboration. Not me filming you without asking, but both of us, talking about what happened and how we fixed it. I think it could help people." Elaine read the text 3 times. She thought about it for a day before responding. "What would it look like?" she texted back. "We'd both be on camera," Emma wrote. "We'd talk about boundaries. How to set them. How to respect them. I'd share my side. You'd share yours. It would be honest. No editing to make either of us look good or bad. Just the truth." Elaine thought about it more. She called Lisa. "What do you think?" she asked. "Do you trust her?" Lisa asked. "More than I did," Elaine said. "But not completely." "Then maybe wait," Lisa said. "Trust takes time. Don't rush it." Elaine agreed. She texted Emma back. "Not yet," she wrote. "But maybe someday. Let's keep rebuilding first." Emma replied with a simple okay. They didn't talk about it again. In the summer of 2024, Elaine took a trip. She drove to the coast, something she hadn't done in years. She rented a small beach house for a week and spent her days walking on the sand, reading books, and sitting on the porch with a cup of coffee. She didn't post about it. She didn't take many photos. She just existed. On the last day of the trip, she sat on the porch at sunset, watching the sky turn orange and pink. She thought about the past 2 years. How much had changed? How much had stayed the same? She thought about Emma. About their new, cautious relationship. About the rules they'd set and the boundaries they were learning to respect. She thought about the strangers who'd watched her videos. The ones who'd thanked her. The ones who'd changed their own behavior because of what she'd said. She thought about herself. About the woman she'd been before the videos and the woman she was now. She wasn't sure she liked being visible, but she'd learned to live with it. And more importantly, she learned to control it. When she got home, she posted a simple video. Just her at the table, as always. "I took a week off," she said. "No phone. No internet. Just me and the ocean. I forgot how good it feels to be completely alone. Not lonely. Just alone. I think everyone should try it." The video got 400,000 views. The comments were full of people saying they wanted to do the same. That they felt inspired. That they were going to put their phones down for a day, a week, a month. Elaine read the comments and felt that same quiet satisfaction. She was helping people. Not by being dramatic. Not by performing. Just by being honest. In the fall of 2024, Elaine turned 56. She celebrated quietly, with a small dinner at home. Emma came. Lisa and her family came. Maya came with her new girlfriend, a soft-spoken woman who worked at a bookstore. They ate lasagna, garlic bread, and salad. They talked about normal things. Work. Weather. Politics briefly, before someone changed the subject. Books they were reading. Plans for the holidays. Emma brought a card. Inside, she'd written, "Thank you for giving me another chance. I know I don't deserve it yet, but I'm trying. Love, Emma." Elaine read the card and felt something loosen in her chest. Not forgiveness, exactly, but something close. Acceptance, maybe. Or hope? She hugged Emma. It was brief, but genuine. "Thank you," Elaine said. Emma smiled. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you ever regret it? Making the video? Exposing everything? Elaine thought about it. No, she said. I regret that I had to. But I don't regret doing it. Emma nodded. I get that. They didn't talk about it again that night. They just ate cake and talked about other things. When everyone left, Elaine cleaned up the kitchen, packed away the leftovers, and sat down at the table with a cup of tea. She looked around the room. The same table she'd had for over 20 years. The same fridge. The same counters. Everything was the same. But it felt different. She felt different. She picked up her phone and scrolled through the notifications. Comments. Messages. Likes. She read a few, then set the phone down, face down, next to the fruit bowl. She didn't need to read them all. She didn't need to respond. The phone could wait. Right now, she just wanted to sit in her kitchen, in the quiet, and drink her tea. And that was enough. By November of 2024, Elaine had been making videos for 2 years. She'd posted 43 videos in total. Some had millions of views. Some had a few 100,000. She didn't track the numbers anymore. She just posted when she had something to say. One evening, she was editing a video about holiday boundaries, how to say no to family gatherings, how to protect your time, how to manage expectations, when her phone rang. It was a number she didn't recognize. She almost didn't answer. But something made her pick up. Hello. Hi, is this Elaine Morrison? Yes. My name is Dr. Sarah Chen. I'm a professor of communication studies at the University of Houston. I'm researching digital consent and family dynamics, and I came across your videos. I was wondering if you'd be interested in being interviewed for my research. Elaine paused. What kind of research? I'm studying the impact of family members being turned into content without consent, Dr. Chen explained. How it affects relationships, mental health, and trust. Your case is one of the most high-profile examples I've found. I think your perspective could really help inform the research. Elaine thought about it. Would I be anonymous? If you want to be, yes, Dr. Chen said. Or you can be named. It's up to you. Let me think about it, Elaine said. Of course. I'll email you more information. Take your time. They hung up. Elaine sat at the table, looking at her phone. She thought about the past 2 years. About everything she'd learned. About the people she'd helped. Maybe it was time to take the next step. Not just sharing her story on YouTube, but contributing to actual research. Helping to create frameworks, guidelines, policies. She opened her laptop and drafted an email to Dr. Chen. I'm interested, she wrote. Let's talk. The interview with Dr. Chen took place in December. They met at a coffee shop near the university. Dr. Chen was in her 40s, with short black hair and glasses. She had a recorder and a notebook. They talked for 2 hours. Dr. Chen asked about the timeline of events. How Elaine had discovered the videos. How she'd felt. What steps she'd taken. How her relationship with Emma had changed. Elaine answered honestly. She didn't sugarcoat anything. She didn't dramatize. She just told the truth. Do you think what happened to you is common? Dr. Chen asked. I think it's more common than people realize, Elaine said. But most people don't have the resources or the knowledge to push back. They don't know they can say no. They don't know they have legal rights. They just suffer in silence. Dr. Chen nodded, writing notes. What would you say to someone in a similar situation? Document everything, Elaine said. Take screenshots. Write down dates and view counts. Then talk to a lawyer. Even just a consultation. And if you feel comfortable, tell your story. Not for revenge, but for clarity. For yourself. Dr. Chen smiled. That's good advice. When the interview was over, Dr. Chen thanked her and promised to send a copy of the research when it was published. Elaine drove home, feeling lighter. She'd done something useful. Something that might help others. That night, she made a video about the interview. She didn't go into detail, but she mentioned it briefly. I was interviewed today for academic research about digital consent, she said. It reminded me why I started making these videos. Not for views. Not for attention. But to help people understand that they have rights. That they can say no. That their lives don't have to be content. The video got 600,000 views. The comments were supportive. Thank you for continuing to speak up. This research is so important. You're changing the conversation. Elaine read the comments and felt that quiet satisfaction again. She was making a difference. Slowly. Steadily. One video at a time. In January of 2025, Dr. Chen's research was published in a peer-reviewed journal. Elaine received a copy in the mail. She read it cover to cover. The paper outlined the psychological impact of being turned into content without consent. It discussed the power dynamics between content creators and their subjects. It proposed guidelines for ethical content creation involving family members. Elaine was quoted several times. Her name was used with her permission. One participant, Elaine Morrison, described the experience as losing control over my own narrative, the paper read. She emphasized the importance of informed consent, even in familial relationships. Her case highlights the need for clearer legal frameworks around digital content creation and the commercial use of individuals' likenesses. Elaine read the section about herself 3 times. She felt proud, not of being featured, but of contributing to something larger than herself. She posted a video about it. The research I participated in has been published, she said. If you're interested, I'll link to it in the description. It's academic, so it's a bit dense, but it's important. It talks about consent, power, and family dynamics in the digital age. These are conversations we need to be having. The video got moderate views. Not millions, but enough. The comments were thoughtful. I'm a graduate student studying media ethics. This is exactly what we need. Thank you for being part of this research. Sharing this with my family. Elaine felt satisfied. She wasn't just reacting anymore. She was participating in a broader movement, helping to shape the conversation. By the spring of 2025, Emma's career had shifted significantly. She'd moved away from personal content entirely. Her channel now focused on productivity, organization, and lifestyle tips. She rarely appeared on camera herself. Most of her videos were voiceovers with B-roll footage. Her follower count had dropped from 2.1 million to 1.4 million. But her engagement was higher. Her audience was more loyal. And she seemed happier. One afternoon in March, Emma texted Elaine. Can I come by? I want to talk about something. Sure, Elaine replied. This Saturday. Perfect. On Saturday, Emma arrived with coffee and pastries from the bakery they both liked. They sat at the kitchen table, the same spot where so many important conversations had happened over the past 2 years. I've been thinking, Emma said, about the collaboration idea. I know you said not yet, but I think I'm ready now. And I think it could really help people. Elaine sipped her coffee. What's changed? I've been going to therapy, Emma said. For the past 6 months. Working through a lot of stuff. Guilt. Shame. The way I treated you. The way I treated my audience. I think I understand now why what I did was wrong. Not just because it hurt you, but because it was exploitative. I turned you into a product. Elaine nodded. That's accurate. I want to make it right, Emma said. Not just for me, but for other people who might be doing the same thing without realizing it. Elaine thought about it. What would the collaboration look like? We'd both be on camera, Emma said. We'd talk about what happened. How we're fixing it. What we've learned. It would be a conversation. Not a performance. Just 2 people trying to figure out how to have a healthy relationship in a digital world. Elaine considered it. Would we split the earnings? Yes, Emma said. 50-50. And you'd have full approval over the final edit. If there's anything you don't like, we change it or we don't post it. And you'd be okay with that? Yes, Emma said. This isn't about views. It's about doing the right thing. Elaine finished her coffee. Let me think about it. Take your time, Emma said. They finished their pastries and talked about other things. Maya's new job. Lisa's upcoming trip to visit her son. The new restaurant that had opened downtown. When Emma left, Elaine sat at the table for a long time, thinking. She called Lisa. What do you think? She asked. Do you trust her now? Lisa asked. Elaine thought about it. More than I did a year ago. She's been consistent. She respected the boundaries. She's been in therapy. Then maybe it's time, Lisa said. But only if you feel ready. I think I do, Elaine said. The collaboration video was filmed in April. They set up 2 cameras in Elaine's kitchen, facing each other across the table. No fancy lighting. No makeup artist. Just 2 women talking. They recorded for 3 hours. Emma asked questions. Elaine answered. Then Elaine asked questions and Emma answered. They talked about the timeline of events. How Emma had started filming without asking. How Elaine had discovered it. How they'd both reacted. They talked about the legal process. The sponsors. The agreement. They talked about therapy. Boundaries. Trust. Forgiveness. I don't think I'll ever fully forgive myself, Emma said at one point. But I'm trying to be better. That's all I can ask, Elaine said. When they were done, they reviewed the footage together. It was raw, honest, uncomfortable at times, but real. Should we post this? Emma asked. Yes, Elaine said. But not all at once. Let's break it into parts. Give people time to process. They edited the video into 3 parts, each about 20 minutes long. They posted the first part in May. The response was immediate. Millions of views within the first week. Comments poured in. This is the most honest thing I've seen on the internet. Thank you both for showing what real accountability looks like. I'm crying. This is so important. Some comments were critical. Emma doesn't deserve forgiveness. This feels performative. Elaine is too nice. But most were supportive. People appreciated the honesty, the vulnerability, the effort. Emma and Elaine posted the second part 2 weeks later. Then the third part 2 weeks after that. By the end of June, the series had been viewed over 20 million times. Media outlets picked it up. Podcasts discussed it. It became a case study in digital ethics courses. Elaine and Emma didn't do interviews. They didn't capitalize on the attention. They just let the videos speak for themselves. In July, Elaine received a message from a woman named Patricia. I'm a mother of 3, the message said. My youngest has been posting videos of me for years. I confronted him after watching your videos with your daughter. We're working on it now. It's hard, but it's getting better. Thank you. Elaine replied. I'm glad it helped. Keep setting boundaries. It takes time, but it's worth it. She received dozens of messages like that over the summer. Parents thanking her. Adult children apologizing. Families working through similar dynamics. She didn't reply to all of them. She couldn't. But she read each one. In August, she posted a video about the messages she'd been receiving. I've heard from hundreds of families over the past few months, she said. Parents who didn't know they could say no. Children who didn't realize they were causing harm. Families trying to rebuild trust. It's hard work. It's messy. But it's possible. Don't give up. The video got 1 million views. The comments were full of people sharing their own stories. Their own progress. Their own struggles. Elaine read the comments and felt that same quiet satisfaction. She was part of something bigger now. A movement, maybe. Or at least a conversation. By the fall of 2025, Elaine's life had settled into a new normal. She worked 1 day a week at the clinic, mostly because she enjoyed it. She volunteered at the library 3 days a week. She made videos when she felt like it. Her relationship with Emma was stable. Not perfect, but functional. They saw each other once or twice a month. They texted regularly. They'd started having dinner together every few weeks, always at Elaine's house, always without cameras unless they both agreed. Emma had started dating someone new, a woman named Sarah who worked in nonprofit management. Sarah was kind and thoughtful and didn't have any social media accounts. She's good for you, Elaine told Emma one evening over dinner. She is, Emma agreed. She keeps me grounded. Elaine smiled. Good. In October, Elaine posted a video reflecting on the 3-year anniversary of discovering the original videos. 3 years ago, I found out my daughter had been posting videos of me without my knowledge, she said. It changed everything. It changed our relationship. It changed how I see the internet. It changed how I see myself. She paused, looking directly at the camera. But it also taught me something important. You don't have to accept being content. You don't have to let people turn your life into entertainment. You can say no. You can set boundaries. You can tell your own story. The video ended with a simple statement. If your children turn you into content, you're allowed to tell your own side of the story. And you're allowed to say no. The video got 5 million views. The comments were full of people thanking her, sharing their own stories, saying they'd been inspired to speak up. Elaine read the comments and felt proud, not of the views, but of the impact. In November of 2025, on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, Elaine sat at her kitchen table with a cup of tea. The sun came through the window at an angle that made the wood glow. The house was quiet. No notifications. No cameras. Just her and the tea and the sound of the house breathing. Her phone was on the counter, face down, next to the fruit bowl where it always was now. She could hear it buzz occasionally. A comment. A message. A like. But she didn't check it. She just sat. Listening. Breathing. Existing. Sometimes, when people recognize her now, they'd ask, "Are you that mom from the video?" And she'd smile and say, "I'm a mom from a video, yes." They'd thank her. Tell her they'd set boundaries with their own kids. That they'd deleted old videos. That they'd had important conversations because of her. And Elaine would nod and say, "That's good. Keep doing that." Because that was the point. Not fame. Not views. Not revenge. Just the quiet, steady work of reclaiming control. Of setting boundaries. Of living a life that was hers. Emma still posted. But differently now. Thoughtfully. With permission when she involved others. Elaine had taught her that. And Emma had listened. Their relationship would never be what it was before. That version of them was gone. But this new version, careful, boundaried, honest, was better. Stronger. Real. Elaine finished her tea and stood up. She walked to the window and looked out at the street. The same street she'd lived on for over 2 decades. The same houses. The same trees. Everything looked the same. But everything had changed. She'd changed. She turned away from the window and went to water her plants. The ones on the porch that she'd always talked to. That teenagers used to watch on TikTok. That were just plants now, not content. She hummed while she watered them. The same hum she'd always hummed. But this time, she knew no one was filming. And if they were, she'd know. And she'd tell them to stop. Because her life was hers now. Her face. Her voice. Her kitchen. Her routine. All of it. Hers. She set down the watering can and looked at the sky. It was late afternoon. The light was golden. The air was cool. A hawk circled overhead, hunting. She watched it for a moment, then went back inside. The house was quiet. The phone was still face down. The tea mug was in the sink. She sat back down at the table and opened her notebook. The same spiral-bound notebook she'd used to track views and dates and sponsors 2 years ago. Now it held grocery lists. Appointment reminders. Video ideas. Normal things. She wrote, "Video idea. What it means to be truly private in a public world." Then she closed the notebook and sat back in her chair. She thought about everything that had happened. The discovery. The research. The legal letters. The videos. The collaboration. The slow, careful rebuilding of trust. She thought about the people she'd helped. The messages she'd received. The research she'd contributed to. She thought about Emma. About their new, complicated, but honest relationship. She thought about herself. About the woman she'd been before the videos and the woman she was now. She wasn't sure which version she liked better. But she knew she was more herself now. More aware. More intentional. She stood up and walked to the kitchen. She poured herself a glass of water and stood at the sink, looking out the window at the darkening street. A car drove by. The neighbor's dog barked. Somewhere down the block, a door closed. Normal sounds. Normal life. She smiled. This was enough. This was everything. She turned away from the window, turned off the light, and walked to the living room. She sat in her recliner, the same one Emma had filmed her sleeping in years ago, and picked up the book she was reading. The house was quiet. The phone stayed on the counter, face down. And Elaine read until the streetlights came on and the room grew dark. Then she closed the book, stood up, and went to bed. Tomorrow, she'd wake up and make coffee and water the plants and maybe make a video. Or maybe she wouldn't. It didn't matter. Because the choice was hers. And that was the only thing that mattered. Every story here will stir your soul. Welcome to Spice and Sugar, your daily escape into real emotions, bold lives, and unforgettable lessons. Here, it's all about love, loss, laughter, and the quiet strength that carries us through. I share stories that make you feel, that remind you you're not alone, that every bitter moment can lead to something sweet. If you want to laugh, cry, and see life through stories that heal and inspire, subscribe and stay a while.